Peter Collins stared at his computer screen, his coffee growing cold beside him. The data from the Carina Nebula shouldn't look like this. He rubbed his tired eyes and looked again at the strange energy patterns dancing across his monitor. After 15 years working at NASA's Deep Space Research Division, he had never seen anything quite like it. "Amanda, can you come look at this?" he called out to his colleague. Dr. Amanda Wright rolled her chair over, her dark curly hair tied back in a loose ponytail. She had been studying stellar phenomena for over a decade, and Peter trusted her judgment more than anyone else in the facility. "What am I looking at?" she asked, leaning forward to examine the screen. "These energy signatures from the Carina Nebula. They're repeating, in perfect patterns." Peter pointed to the waves on the screen. "Natural stellar phenomena don't do that." Amanda's eyes widened as she studied the data. "You're right. This looks almost like..." "Like what?" "Like a heartbeat," she finished, "or a beacon." Over the next few days, Peter and Amanda worked nearly around the clock. They brought in more scanning equipment, gathered more data, and ran countless analyses. With each new piece of information, the picture became clearer and stranger. "Look at this." Amanda pulled up a three-dimensional map of the energy patterns. "These aren't random. They're coordinates." Peter felt his heart race. Coordinates to what? Something big, really big. Amanda's fingers flew over her keyboard. "And it's been there for thousands of years, maybe longer." Word spread quickly through NASA. Within a week, their small research lab was filled with experts from various fields. Everyone wanted to see the mysterious signal from space, but it was Peter and Amanda who made the breakthrough that changed everything. They were working late one night, running new scans, when Amanda noticed something in the data they had missed before. "Peter, look at these smaller patterns within the main signal. They're not just coordinates. They're instructions." Peter leaned in close. "Instructions for what?" "For building something." Amanda's voice was filled with excitement. "These patterns, they're like a blueprint, but on a massive scale. Whatever this is, it's showing us how to work with stellar matter itself." The discovery was too big to keep quiet. Soon, the United Earth Space Command got involved. They called an emergency meeting with the top scientists and military leaders. Peter and Amanda found themselves in a large conference room, explaining their findings to some of the most powerful people on Earth. "We believe it's some kind of space station," Peter explained, showing the holographic projections, "but not like anything humans have ever built. This station appears to be designed to harvest and process stellar matter." Captain Daniel Hughes of the starship Helios Dawn leaned forward in his chair. "And you're certain this isn't a natural phenomenon?" "Absolutely certain," Amanda replied. "The patterns are too precise, too intentional. This was built by someone, or something, with technology far beyond our current capabilities." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity had just found its first concrete evidence of advanced alien technology. "How do we know this isn't a trap?" asked one of the military advisors. Peter pulled up another set of data. "The energy signatures are completely passive. They're like a lighthouse, showing the way. Whatever built this wanted it to be found." Eventually, after hours of discussion, the decision was made. The Helios Dawn, Earth's most advanced starship, would investigate the coordinates. They needed a team of experts who could study and possibly interact with the alien technology. "Mr. Collins, Dr. Wright," Captain Hughes addressed them, "would you be willing to join this mission? We need people who understand what we're looking for." Peter and Amanda exchanged glances. They had both dreamed of space travel, but never imagined it would happen like this. "Yes," they answered almost in unison. The next few weeks passed in a blur of preparation. The crew came together quickly. Laura Martinez, a brilliant engineer who could make any technology sing. Ryan Parker, a xenorchaeologist who specialized in theoretical alien civilizations, and dozens of other experts in various fields. As they prepared for launch, Peter spent hours studying the data they had gathered. The more he looked at it, the more convinced he became that they were about to find something extraordinary. The patterns suggested not just advanced technology, but an entirely different way of thinking about matter and energy. The day of launch arrived clear and cold. The Helios Dawn sat on the launch pad, its sleek hull gleaming in the morning sun. Peter stood with Amanda at the observation window, both of them already in their flight suits. Ready to make history? Amanda asked, trying to hide her nervousness with a smile. Peter nodded, watching as the final preparations were made. You know what's strange? These patterns we found. They're complex, but they also feel familiar somehow, like they're speaking a language we almost understand. Maybe that's why we found them, Amanda suggested. Maybe whoever built this station made it so that only civilizations at a certain level of development could recognize the signals. Captain Hughes's voice came over the intercom. All personnel, prepare for boarding. As they walked toward the ship, Peter thought about everything that had led to this moment. All those years studying metallurgy and stellar phenomena, all those late nights poring over data. They had been preparation for something he never could have imagined. The Helios Dawn's engines hummed to life as the crew strapped into their acceleration chairs. Peter looked around at his fellow crew members, seeing his own mix of excitement and anxiety reflected in their faces. All systems go, Laura Martinez reported from her engineering station. Engine temperature optimal, fusion core stable. Communications check complete, Ryan Parker added. All channels clear. Captain Hughes's voice was steady as he began the launch sequence. Control, this is Helios Dawn, requesting final clearance for launch. As the countdown began, Peter closed his eyes for a moment. Somewhere out there, in the depths of the Carina Nebula, something ancient and powerful was waiting. Something that could change humanity's understanding of the universe forever. The engines roared to full power, and the Helios Dawn lifted off, carrying its crew toward their destiny among the stars. As Earth fell away below them, Peter thought about the patterns they had discovered. Patterns that looked like heartbeats, like beacons, like welcome messages from an ancient civilization. They were about to find out if humanity was ready for whatever waited for them at those coordinates. Ready or not, they were on their way to uncover the greatest discovery in human history. The Star Forge. After 3 weeks of faster-than-light travel, the Helios Dawn approached its destination in the Carina Nebula. The ship's viewing screens filled with swirling clouds of purple and blue gas, lit by the glow of distant stars. But it was what waited at the center of those clouds that made everyone on the bridge fall silent. "My God," Peter whispered, standing up from his station. "It's actually real." Floating in the midst of the stellar clouds was a structure larger than anything humanity had ever built. It looked like a massive ring with spokes reaching toward a central hub, all of it made from a metal that seemed to shine with its own inner light. Size estimates coming in, Laura Martinez reported from her engineering station. The main ring is approximately 50 kilometers in diameter. The central hub alone is bigger than Earth's largest space station. Captain Hughes leaned forward in his command chair. Any signs of active power or defense systems? Nothing yet, Laura replied, her fingers moving quickly over her controls. But there's something strange about the metal it's made from. My scanners can't identify it. Amanda stood next to Peter, her eyes wide with wonder. Look at those patterns on the surface. They'd match the energy signatures we found in the original signal. As the Helios Dawn moved closer, more details became visible. The station's surface was covered in flowing lines and curves that seemed to shift and change as they watched. It was both beautiful and alien, clearly built by minds very different from human ones. "I'm picking up something," Ryan Parker called from his station. "Energy readings. They're coming from the central hub." Before anyone could respond, a beam of soft blue light shot out from the station and swept over the Helios Dawn. Everyone tensed, but the beam seemed to be scanning rather than attacking. "Ship systems are all normal," Laura reported. "Whatever that was, it wasn't harmful." Suddenly, The flowing patterns on the station's surface began to glow. One by one, lights began turning on throughout the structure, as if it were waking up from a long sleep. "Look," Amanda pointed to a section of the ring that was opening like a flower. I think it's inviting us in." Captain Hughes stood up, studying the opening. "Laura, what do our scans say about that docking area?" "Atmosphere readings are coming in now," she said. "It's creating a breathable environment. Temperature, pressure, oxygen levels, all being adjusted to Earth normal. It's adapting to us," Peter realized. "The station must have scanned us and is changing itself to accommodate human life." After careful consideration and many more scans, Captain Hughes made the decision to accept the station's invitation. The Helios Dawn slowly moved into the massive docking bay, which could have held dozens of ships its size. As soon as they docked, Ryan's console lit up with new information. "Captain, I'm detecting power signatures throughout the station now. And something else, some kind of data transmission." Laura worked quickly at her station. "It's not just random data. These look like instruction sequences, but they're unlike any computer language I've ever seen. They're beautiful, almost like music." "Can you decode it?" Captain Hughes asked. Laura shook her head. "Not yet, but I think I can start to understand the basic patterns. Give me some time with it." The captain nodded and turned to the rest of the crew. "All right, we'll send out our first exploration team. Peter, Amanda, you two know the most about those energy signatures. Laura, we'll need you to study their technology. Ryan, you're our expert on alien civilizations. Suit up and be ready in 20 minutes. As they prepared for their first walk onto the station, Peter checked Amanda's suit seals, and she did the same for him. They had trained for this, but nothing could truly prepare them for humanity's first exploration of an alien structure. "Ready?" Amanda asked, her voice slightly nervous through the suit's comm system. Peter nodded, checking his tools one last time. "Ready." The team stepped through the airlock and onto the station. Their boots touched down on a surface that looked like metal, but felt somehow alive, with subtle patterns flowing beneath their feet. "This is incredible," Ryan said, running his scanner over the walls. "This station is old, maybe millions of years old, but it feels brand new. Look at how the surfaces are responding to our presence." He was right. As they walked, the corridor's lights adjusted to their movement, and subtle changes in the wall patterns seemed to guide them forward. "Laura, what do you make of these control panels?" Peter asked, pointing to sections of the wall that seemed to shimmer with possibilities. Laura stepped closer, her engineer's eyes taking in every detail. "They're not like any technology I've ever seen. It's like they're waiting for us to understand how to use them." Suddenly, a holographic display appeared in front of them, floating in the air. Strange symbols danced and shifted, gradually transforming into shapes that looked almost familiar. "It's learning," Amanda said excitedly. "The station is learning how to communicate with us." Laura pulled out her tablet and began working on interfacing with the station's systems. The base computer language, it's not just mathematical. There's an artistic component to it. Like you need both logic and creativity to understand it. As they moved deeper into the station, they found vast chambers filled with machinery that defied understanding. In one room, they saw what looked like liquid starlight flowing through transparent tubes. In another, they found massive crystalline structures that hummed with power. "I think I know what this place is," Peter said slowly, watching the flow of stellar matter through the station's systems. "It's not just a space station. It's a forge, a place where they learn to shape the very matter of stars themselves." Before anyone could respond to this revelation, a new alarm sounded from their suits. Ryan checked his readings and his voice turned urgent. Multiple power signatures activating throughout the station. Something's happening. The walls around them began to pulse with light, and new holographic displays appeared, showing what looked like defensive systems coming online. In the distance, they heard the sound of machinery powering up. "Laura, what's going on?" Captain Hughes's voice came through their comms. "The station's detecting something," Laura replied, working frantically at a control panel. "Something's approaching, and the station doesn't seem happy about it." Through the station's windows, they could see new ships appearing from faster-than-light travel. These ships were dark and angular, carrying weapons unlike anything Earth had ever developed. "Captain," Peter called through his comm, "I think we're about to find out if we're the only ones who got the station's message." The alien ships moved into attack formation, and the Starforge's ancient defenses continued to power up around them. Humanity's first contact with alien technology was about to become much more complicated than anyone had expected. The alien ships hung in space like dark shadows against the colorful nebula. On the bridge of the Helios Dawn, Captain Hughes watched as more vessels appeared, their weapons clearly visible. "Message coming in," Ryan announced from his station. "They're broadcasting on all frequencies." A deep, rumbling voice filled the bridge. "This is Commander Vex of the Galactic Empire. You have entered restricted space. The artifact belongs to us. Withdraw immediately or face destruction." Captain Hughes straightened in his chair. "This is Captain Daniel Hughes of the Earth ship Helios Dawn. We were invited here by the station's signal. We seek peaceful contact." "Humans," Commander Vex's voice carried a note of disgust. "Your species is too young to understand the power of the Starforge. Leave now, while you still can." Meanwhile, inside the station, Peter, Amanda, and Laura worked frantically to understand the station's systems. The walls around them pulsed with energy as ancient defense systems came online. "Look at this," Laura called out, pointing to a holographic display. Strange symbols flowed across the screen, but they were different now. "The station's trying to tell us something." Amanda studied the symbols. "These patterns, they remind me of music notes, but they're also like mathematical equations." Peter moved closer to one of the walls, where the flowing patterns seemed to respond to his presence. He reached out and touched the surface, and suddenly the patterns changed, becoming clearer. "It's not just about understanding the technology," he said slowly. "The station, it's testing us, looking for something specific." Laura's eyes widened as she worked with the control panels. "He's right. Every time we try to access the systems using pure logic, we hit a wall. But when we approach it creatively..." She hummed a few notes, and the panel in front of her lit up with new information. The station was responding to the melody. "That's it," Amanda exclaimed. "The artisans who built this place, they weren't just scientists. They were artists too. The station needs both to work properly." Above them, the situation grew tenser. The Galactic ships moved closer, their weapons charged. "Final warning," Commander Vex's voice boomed. "Surrender the station, or we will take it by force." Captain Hughes looked to his crew. "Options." "Sir," Ryan reported, "the Galactic Empire is known for taking advanced technology by force. They've stripped hundreds of worlds of their artifacts." Peter's voice came through the comm system. "Captain, we think we understand what's happening here. The station isn't just a weapon or a tool. It's a test." "Explain," Hughes ordered. "The artisans built this place to find species worthy of their legacy," Amanda added. "The Galactics want to take it by force. But that's not how it works. The station responds to creativity, to the balance between logic and art." As if to prove their point, the station's walls began to sing. It wasn't just sound. It was light and energy combined, creating patterns that danced through the air. Laura worked with the controls, adding her own input to the station's song. "It's like a duet between us and the station. The more we work with it, the more it shows us." Suddenly, new holographic displays appeared, showing the history of the Starforge. They saw images of the artisans, a species that had mastered both science and art, creating wonders by combining the two. They didn't want warriors to find this place, Peter realized. They wanted creators. The Galactic ships opened fire, their energy weapons striking the station's outer ring. But where their weapons hit, the station's surface rippled like water, absorbing and redirecting the energy. More ships appearing. Ryan called out, "They're launching fighters." Inside the station, Peter, Amanda, and Laura felt the attacks through the vibrations in the floor. But they also noticed something else. The station was waiting for them to act. "Laura," Peter called, "can you interface with the defense systems?" She nodded, her fingers dancing over the controls. "Yes, but it needs something else, something more than just commands." Amanda stepped forward. "Let me try something." She began to sing, a simple melody that seemed to resonate with the station's own harmonies. The effect was immediate. The station's defenses responded, not with destructive force, but with waves of energy that flowed like art through space. The Galactic weapons simply stopped working. "Impossible." Commander Vex's voice was filled with rage. "What have you done?" "We're not trying to fight you," Captain Hughes responded. "This station wasn't built for war. It was built to create, to forge new things, new possibilities." Peter watched in amazement as the station's true purpose became clear. The central hub began to glow, and in the space before them, streams of stellar matter began to dance and weave together. "It's showing us how it works," Laura breathed. "How to take the matter of stars and shape it into something new." Amanda nodded, not through force or power, but through understanding and creativity. The Galactic ships hung motionless in space, their weapons useless against the station's artistic defense. Commander Vex's voice came again, but this time it was quieter. "How? How did you unlock its secrets so quickly?" "Because we didn't try to conquer it," Peter replied. "We tried to understand it, to work with it, not control it." As they spoke, the Starforge continued its display, showing them visions of what was possible when science and art worked together. It showed them how to forge new materials, how to shape energy itself into forms never seen before. "Captain," Peter called, "I think this is just the beginning. The station isn't just showing us its secrets, it's inviting us to add our own creativity to its power." The Starforge hummed with energy, its surfaces flowing with patterns that seemed to reflect the very essence of human creativity meeting ancient alien wisdom. In that moment, everyone present understood that they had passed the true test, proving that humanity was ready not just to find great power, but to use it wisely. The peace didn't last long. While the first wave of Galactic ships hung motionless in space, new alarms rang through the Starforge. Multiple jump signatures detected. Ryan's voice crackled over the comm system. "A lot more Galactic ships coming in." Peter watched through the station's windows as dozens of new vessels appeared. These ones were bigger, their hulls covered in heavy weapons. At their center was a massive ship that seemed to be made entirely of black metal. "That's their dreadnought," Laura said, her fingers moving quickly over the control panel. "The pride of Galactic. It's their flagship." The new Galactic commander's voice boomed through all channels. "This is High Admiral Zena. Your tricks with the station's defense systems are impressive, humans, but they will not save you. The Starforge belongs to the strong. Prepare to be boarded." Inside the station's central hub, Peter turned to Amanda and Laura. "We need to do more than just defend. We need to show them what this place can really do." Amanda nodded, studying the flowing patterns on the walls. "The station's been teaching us. Maybe it's time we put those lessons to use." Laura connected her tablet to another control panel. "Look at this. When we work with the station's systems, it's like painting with starlight. Each command needs to be both mathematically perfect and beautifully balanced." They watched as streams of stellar matter flowed through the transparent tubes around them. The matter glowed like liquid gold, pulsing with enough power to create or destroy worlds. "Peter," Amanda called, "remember how the station responded to music before? What if we try something bigger?" She stepped up to the main control panel and began to hum a complex melody. The station's lights pulsed in rhythm with her song. Laura quickly caught on, adding her own voice to create harmony. Peter joined in, and suddenly, The entire chamber was filled with music. The Starforge responded. The flowing patterns on the walls began to move faster, and the streams of stellar matter danced to their song. In space, threads of golden light began to weave themselves into new forms. They're launching boarding craft. Ryan's voice came through the comms. 30 seconds until they reached the station. But Peter, Amanda, and Laura didn't stop their song. Instead, they made it stronger, pouring all their creativity and understanding into working with the station's systems. The Starforge seemed to sing back to them, its ancient technology responding to human inspiration. The golden threads of stellar matter began to take shape. First, they formed a shield of pure energy around the station. Then, they started building something new. Structures that looked like flowering vines made of light and power. Impossible. High Admiral Zena's voice was filled with shock. The station's defense network was destroyed ages ago. We're not destroying anything, Peter replied between verses of the song. We're creating. That's what this place was built for. The flowering vines of light spread through space, growing larger and more complex. Where they touched the Galax boarding craft, the smaller ships simply stopped working, their power absorbed into the growing network. Laura's eyes widened as she worked with the controls. The station's not just responding to us anymore, it's working with us. Look, new holographic displays appeared, showing them possibilities they hadn't imagined. The Starforge wasn't just a factory for making materials. It could create entire systems of energy and matter working together in perfect harmony. The Pride of Galax fired its main weapons, massive beams of destructive power heading straight for the station. But when they hit the shield of golden light, something amazing happened. The energy didn't just stop, it transformed, becoming part of the growing network of light. Do you see now? Amanda's voice carried across all channels. The Starforge doesn't need to fight. It can take the power you use for destruction and turn it into something beautiful instead. In space, the network of light continued to grow, forming patterns that looked like constellations come to life. Each point of light pulsed with power, but it wasn't threatening power. It was creative power, the kind that could build worlds instead of destroying them. High Admiral Zena's voice came again, but this time it was different. How are you doing this? Our best scientists spent years trying to understand the station's systems. Because we're not trying to control it, Peter explained. We're working with it. The artisans built this place to bring creation and cooperation together. Every time you attack, you prove you don't understand its true purpose. The network of light had grown so large it filled the space around the station. The Galax ships were surrounded by it, their weapons useless against something that could transform destructive energy into creative force. Laura made an adjustment to the control panel, her part of the song changing slightly. The network responded, forming new patterns that were even more complex and beautiful. Captain, she called to the Helios Dawn. I think we can do more than just defend ourselves. The station's showing us how to build things I never thought were possible. Captain Hughes's voice was filled with wonder. What kind of things? Structures that could survive inside stars, Laura replied. Materials that could make faster-than-light travel easier. Ways to clean up space pollution and repair damaged planets. This isn't a weapon. It's a tool for helping entire civilizations grow. The Galax fleet hung in space, surrounded by the beautiful network of light their own attacks had helped create. High Admiral Zena was silent for a long moment before speaking again. In all our studies of the artisan's technology, we never saw anything like this. We thought strength was the key to unlocking their secrets. It's not about strength, Amanda said gently. It's about understanding that power doesn't have to be destructive to be meaningful. As she spoke, the network of light pulsed one more time, and in the space between the station and the Galax fleet, something new began to form. The Starforge was creating a bridge, not a physical one, but a bridge of pure energy that could connect different ships, different species, different ways of thinking. Peter watched as the bridge took shape, understanding finally what the artisans had meant for this place to be. This isn't just about humans, or Kalax, or any single species, he said. It's about learning to create things together. The Starforge hummed with power around them, ready to show both humans and Kalax what was possible when creation replaced destruction and cooperation replaced conquest. 1 month had passed since the standoff with the Kalax fleet. The Starforge now buzzed with activity as humans and Kalax worked side by side, learning the station's secrets together. The bridge of energy they had created that day became a symbol of something greater, a new way forward for both species. Peter stood at a viewing window in the central hub, watching teams of human and Kalax scientists studying the golden streams of stellar matter. High Admiral Zena stood beside him, her tall figure no longer threatening but curious. "Your people continue to surprise us," Zena said, her voice softer than during their first meeting. "In all our years of conquering technology, we never thought to simply create with it." Peter nodded, remembering how quickly things had changed after the battle. Sometimes the hardest part is letting go of our old ways of thinking. In another part of the station, Amanda and Laura worked with a group of Kalax engineers. They had discovered that when both species combined their knowledge, the Starforge responded even more strongly. Human creativity and Kalax technical expertise worked together like two parts of a perfect whole. "Look at this," Laura called out, pointing to a new display. The hologram showed a material they had just created, something that had never existed before in the universe. It sparkled with inner light and seemed to bend space around it. "The properties are amazing," one of the Kalax engineers said, checking his readings. "It could revolutionize space travel, make it safer, faster." Amanda studied the readings, and "we could only make it by working together." The Starforge needed both human and Kalax input to create something this new. Captain Hughes and the Helios Dawn had returned to Earth weeks ago, carrying news of their discovery. Now more ships were arriving daily, not just from Earth and the Kalax Empire, but from other species who had detected the station's activities. In the main forging chamber, Peter watched as a team demonstrated their latest discovery. A young Kalax scientist named Krell had learned to play the station's control panels like a musical instrument, while a human scientist added mathematical equations to guide the energy flow. Together, they were creating structures that could harness the power of stars themselves. "We're ready for the next test," Krell announced, his fingers moving across the glowing panels. The chamber filled with harmonious sounds as human and Kalax worked together. Streams of stellar matter danced through the air, weaving themselves into complex patterns. Where the streams met, they formed crystals that could store massive amounts of clean energy. "The artisans," Peter said, watching the display, "they must have known this would happen eventually. That's why they left the forge for others to find." Amanda walked over to join him. They wanted to find species who could move beyond conquest and learn to build something better together. High Admiral Zena nodded. "For centuries, my people sought power through strength alone. We never understood that true power comes from creation, not destruction." The station hummed around them, its ancient systems singing with new life. In the weeks since the battle, they had learned so much. The Starforge wasn't just a factory or a weapon. It was a teacher, showing them how to build things they had never dreamed possible. Laura called everyone's attention to the main viewing screen. "You need to see this. We've finished analyzing the artisan database." The screen filled with images showing the history of the Starforge. The artisans had built it at the height of their civilization, not as a monument to their power, but as a gift to future species who might be ready to take the next step in their development. They seeded these forges throughout the galaxy, Laura explained, reading the data, each one waiting for species who could prove themselves worthy not through strength, but through wisdom and creativity. Peter remembered the first time they had heard the station's song. They wanted us to learn not just how to build things, but how to build them together. In the space around the station, ships from a dozen different species now orbited peacefully. Each had come seeking knowledge, and each had found something more valuable, a way to work together for the good of all. Amanda touched one of the walls, feeling the patterns flow beneath her fingers. So what do we do now? With all this knowledge, all this power? The answer came from an unexpected source. One of the younger Galactic engineers stepped forward, his eyes bright with inspiration. We teach others, just as the artisans taught us. The idea spread quickly through the station. Within days, plans were being made to create the Star Forge Academy, a place where species from across the galaxy could come to learn not just the science of stellar engineering, but the art of working together. Peter, Amanda, and Laura found themselves at the heart of this new project. Their unique understanding of how to blend science and art made them natural teachers for the next generation of stellar engineers. Look, Laura said one day, pointing out the window at a new ship arriving. Our first students. The vessel carried representatives from 3 different species, all coming to learn the ways of the Star Forge. As Peter watched them dock, he remembered how far they had come from those first mysterious signals in the Carina Nebula. The station's walls pulsed with warm light, almost as if it was welcoming the newcomers. In the forging chambers, human and Galactic instructors prepared to share their knowledge, while streams of stellar matter danced through the transparent tubes like rivers of light. The artisans gave us more than just technology, Amanda said, watching the new arrivals. They gave us a way to grow beyond our old rivalries and fears. High Admiral Zena, now serving as one of the Academy's lead instructors, smiled, something that would have seemed impossible just a month ago. And in return, we give their gift to others, making their legacy live on through us all. The Star Forge continued its eternal dance through space, no longer a sleeping giant but a beacon of hope and creation. Inside its ancient halls, species that once might have been enemies now worked side by side, forging not just new materials, but new friendships, new understandings, and new possibilities for all who came to learn. And somewhere, Peter liked to think, the artisans were watching, pleased to see their greatest creation finally fulfilling its true purpose, not as a weapon or a tool of power, but as a bridge between stars and species, teaching the galaxy that the greatest force in the universe wasn't destruction or conquest, but the simple joy of creating something new together.